admit out of the gate, guys, that I haven't really got to watch either of these two teams. I'm located in Australia. European matches are on at an absolutely awful time for me most of the time. Very, very early hours of the morning, so not 100% up to date on what these two teams are picking, but I do have their last couple of matches open with me off to the side so we can have a look at what is going on there. And we will still see at least the Troll and the Venge that I mentioned earlier. Troll still pretty much untouched this patch, and he's been reigning over both the pub and the pro scene for a little while here. Also gives Team Empire a potential very sneaky Roche if they're feeling bold enough to go for it, so that can always be a recovery plan, or even just a way of getting further ahead before they start knocking down some towers. So that's something that Navi may need to be looking out for. And also grabbing these two excellent Roshan heroes away from Navi over on the dire side is, I think, is always going to work out pretty nicely. So we'll see where we end up going from here. Venge, of course, also pretty nice to cover for a potential Batrider grab or something else that might be coming out of Navi as we move ourselves a little bit further in. And Go Black even already starting to chew into a little bit of his reserve time as he considers this next grab, so we will have to see what he ends up going for. I am actually just very quickly going to go and have a look at their drafting stats for this patch. So Earthshaker is actually Navi's most picked hero this version, 6.83C with 10 picks and a 60% win rate, so they've been doing pretty well with that. And Dazzle and Jug not too far behind, 8 games apiece. So with those two banned out, looks like Navi just kind of sticking to their guns, and literally with the sniper pickup here as well, just grabbing what they know has worked for them up until this point. Interestingly enough, Navi do end up banning out the Shadow Fiend. I feel like we've been seeing Sniper giving SF actually a pretty hard time on the mid lane these days, but I feel like it's also one of those matchups where people are starting to get a little bit better with the Shadow Fiend, a little bit more cautious, never really overextending into Shrapnel and just getting their bottle, spamming at the wave, and just doing Shadow Fiend things in general. Earthshaker plus Sniper already got some good long range power going on there, and pretty much whatever ends up mid lane for Empire, assuming that the Sniper is going to be there on mid, should be a pretty easy kill with just an Earthshaker rotation. It could also end up being that the Earthshaker is camping at mid, ready to protect the Sniper, just in case any ganks are coming the way of Team Empire, since Navi are over on the dire side, and it is a little bit easier to get the supports around and get those ganks going from the Radiant onto the dire, as opposed to the other way around. So definitely something that we'll need to keep an eye out for in this game. And also Navi just going to be targeting another ban towards the mid, or I guess towards Resolution, as they do end up getting rid of the Storm Spirit. But he did have a very good Storm Spirit performance earlier in the tournament, so I don't think any big surprises there. And also we've just seen Storm Spirit trending like crazy all over the place at the moment, especially in China right now. The Star Series Season 12 group stages have both seen a lot of Storm play, so and they've picked up snipers, so makes a lot of sense that they're going to try and get rid of that Storm if they can. And as far as things go for Empire to try and get on top of him, there is still the Clockwork, but definitely a little bit less reliable than the Storm, just because of the nature of the hookshot cooldown, etc., etc. And Empire just going to get rid of some more annoying mid-game heroes as they do get rid of the Brewmaster and the Viper. That does seem to be the kind of territory that both teams are aiming for at the moment. Nobody has escalated the team fight really in terms of long cooldown, so that's something that we could still definitely see coming out from both teams. There's the potential for something like a Tidehunter, so definitely something to keep in mind as we move a little bit forward. But it can be risky to be the first team to look to escalate on the team fight front, because then the enemy team, if they get even a little bit further ahead, they're controlling the pace, they're controlling the tempo, and they're controlling whether or not you actually get to force anything with your big ultimate. And often you can just be completely punished because you drop a big ultimate, but it's not quite good enough, you still end up losing the fight, and then you've got a hero that's a pretty big liability for a fairly long period of time. So we'll see what ends up happening. In terms of general style for these two teams, Let's have a look at the recent draft. So Navi pretty much been running duo core for the most part. They did have the one game recently where they picked up both a centaur and an axe, so double initiator there, but it does seem like in general they're sort of grabbing your two physical cores. And for Empire, does seem to be a little bit more single core oriented in general. Not far from 4 Protect 1 by any means, and they are in general grabbing scaling supports, getting some Sand Kings in there and whatnot, but they are going to end up going for a Tusk here. So the Storm's been banned out. They want a reliable way to try and get in on top of the Sniper, and looks like the Snowball is going to be the answer. But the response coming right back from Navi to punish any grouped up heroes coming in off the Snowball is going to be the Axe. So right now Navi just putting as many walls in between Empire and the Sniper as they possibly can, and we've seen plenty of games in recent memory where that strategy works out a-okay. So I think things looking alright for Navi on that front. Empire, not too many melee heroes just yet, so I don't think they're too vulnerable to the Axe necessarily in the laning phase, and Empire just going to grab themselves a Zeus. Always nice to have against your Blink Dagger initiators. If you drop a really nicely timed Thunder God's Wrath and you can stuff up the Blink for even a couple of seconds, that can be absolutely teamfight winning. So I do like the Zeus pickup quite a bit here. For Empire, their lineup is very front foot forward. They're, I would say, a little bit squishy in general. Troll Warlord can definitely tank up, and the kind of items that you do typically see on him are going to give him that survivability that he needs. But in the early game, if the Axe starts to get any kind of snowball going, then I think it's going to be very, very scary for Empire here. And as far as roles go, I'm not actually sure who is going to be playing what here. I'm actually going to check out their recent game to see who is handling the... Okay, so it was actually a Zeus mid, so it looks like potentially Tusk offlane or support. Vengeful Spirit, of course, going to be playing a support role this game. We do sometimes see carry Venge, and interesting to mention that, given that we do have Navi here in the game, but not something that we see recently, and definitely not anything that we should be expecting this game. So Bristleback is the ban. Navi, yeah, still likely looking for a second core. They've got an offlane, they've got their two supports, they've got their mid or their safe lane. So I think Bristleback, again, just fits into that idea that Navi are trying to put as many blockers between the Sniper and the Team Empire heroes that want to beat him to death as they possibly can. And Batrider is going to end up being removed by Navi. So it looks like they're anticipating support Tusk along with the Vengeful Spirit, and then Empire are thinking that Empire are looking for an offlane at the moment. Aggressive tri-lane, not really an option for Empire. Zeus and Troll Warlord, both pretty solid solos in general, but I think they'd much rather keep their Vengeful Spirit and their Tusk free to be roaming around and getting things done in the early game, as opposed to being pinned down in a tri-lane situation. The other nice thing about the Witch Doctor, of course, is going to be the ability to punish any big snowballs in, along with the Axe. So Empire do need to be really careful with how they use the snowball this game. If they just snowball into a Fissure, Echo Slam, Witch Doctor Ultimate Call, then anyone that was there is almost certainly dead. So Tusk is going to have to be careful with manipulating his teammates around too much here. And for Empire, they are running very, very low in reserve time, so they're going to make this final selection quickly, and we will find out what that last hero is going to be, and the answer is Magnus. Okay, so they've only really got the Troll Warlord to be benefiting from the Empower, which is a little bit of a shame, but it does give them some more reliable initiation than just hoping that Tusk can find someone. As far as the Magnus is offlane, it looks like he might be offlane. Could also be Zeus offlane and Mag mid potentially. But just going off the recent games, it does seem like they've been running the Zeus. Actually, wait. I'm just looking at Dota Buff and it says Zeus is mid, but they've also got Resolution here on a Storm who is also mid. So I didn't catch this game, Empire versus Redemption. Not 100% sure what was going on with the laning situation there, but
10 seconds remaining.
I guess we'll just have to see once we get ourselves in. Only a couple of seconds remaining for the final Navi pickup as well. And they end up going for a Razor. Given that Empire do pretty much have only the single right-clicking core in the Troll Warlord, I think the Razor works out pretty nicely there, though not a hero that we see a whole lot of these days, in all honesty. He is a decent tanky core. I don't really know if he can go for a mech these days with the new mana cost changes. It might be a little bit prohibitive for him, and well, I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. For Navi, what are they up to laning wise? They could actually run Axe, Earthshaker, and Witch Doctor as an aggressive tri-lane of their own, and then just leave Sniper and Razor as the solos. And in that case, what do Empire do? I guess they just have to roam their supports. I don't think they can win. They might be able to win the tri-lane head-on. It all depends on the initiation right at the very start, but I don't know. I think I like the Navi tri-lane just a little bit more. Also, the tri-lane, or whatever is happening in this off lane, is going to start off in a really good position for Navi because they do have this Earthshaker. So I think Go Black more than willing to block things off and pull it up under the tower. But before we get into talking too much more about the lanes, let's very quickly introduce our two teams. Over on Navi, we have DK Phobos. On Axe, we have Go Black on the Earthshaker. Heading towards mid, we have Yul on the Witch Doctor. We've got... Wait, what is... On the Witch Doctor, and we've got Havost on the Razor. Finally, Dendi over on the Sniper. Meanwhile, for Empire, it's going to be Yoki on Magnus. Resolution on the Zeus. Silent handling Control Warlord. Always want to fly on the Vengeful Spirit. And finally, Aloha Dance over on the Tusk. We've got those early boots out on the Earthshaker, making his way down and establishing an Observer Ward here in the offlane. Not blocking anything, but should be fairly safe so long as they don't give away the vision there. So it does look like it's just going to be your Axe offlane here, and both teams contending for the 0-minute room, but Navi going to show 4 heroes, and they've got the Sniper as well, who's probably one of the worst heroes to go up against at level 1. So they're just going to let Dendi have that one, but Yoki does manage to grab himself a bounty rune as the exchange up on the top lane. And sorry guys, I just have to do something really quickly. Okay, we are good to go. Anyway, so as far as Navi's lanes go, it looks like it's going to be Razor and Earthshaker up top, just joined by the Witch Doctor, so no big surprises there. Dendi's going to be soloing mid on the Sniper, and Axe actually just soloing the off lane for the time being. He's going to cop some harassment here. Manning up a little bit too far, actually. That 3-second stun out of the Troll Warlord, probably not going to be the end of him, but it is going to at least cost him his salve. And lane not even really going to end up pushing. Sometimes it's worth it to try and go for those plays if the enemy team starts pulling your creeps onto themselves and the lane ends up pushing towards your tower, but looks like they've still done a pretty good job of keeping it under control. And Aloha Dance is already on the job, running some pulls through and making sure that the Axe gets basically nothing to start out the offlane here. So they're just trying to get him to leave, head over to the jungle, and then they can potentially pick up this tier 1 tower. Witch Doctor going to sidestep the skewer here. So Magnus using up his escape. The Fisher Block comes out as well, and they're just going to keep on laying in with the right clicks. And this should be your first blood. He's going to try and tango juke his way through, but Razor's already coming across. And that is going to be your first blood, making its way into Havost's hot hands. Nice grab there for Navi, and just an exceedingly aggressive play from the Magnus. I think even if he lands that skewer, he probably doesn't get the kill. Witch Doctor can probably just walk away, salve up, get a little bit there, and by that point the Earthshaker and the Razor will already be in position to help him out. So poor Yoki just gonna have to start wandering his way back up towards top. As the other lanes go, Dendi holding on to a little bit of a lead over at mid, 10-5 versus the Zeus's 8-2. Resolution actually just running his bottle back to base at the moment. So a little bit of bottle crow action going on there. And Silent down bot Considering his item build, just going to pick up his Bassi and his Quelling Blade. He knows that the axe has left the lane and that he's probably not too interested in coming back soon. We've got a big jump in top lane, always want to fly an Aloha Dance. Coming out onto Witch Doctor, going to grab that kill. Havost drops down the link, and with his Boots of Speed, he's going to be able to run away, but that aggressive roaming pressure already coming out of Empire, and trying to make full use of this Tusk and the Vengeful Spirit in the early game. But going back to this item build decision for Silent on the safe lane. So he's got his Bassi, he's got his Quelling Blade, he's got pretty much the two best creep pushing items that he can get for the time being, and just gonna sit here and hit creeps and put pressure on the tower. And he's actually gonna get DK Phobos to come back down here and not be doing anything over in the jungle. So there's been a lot of back and forth for Axe, and a little bit of a slow start for him as well. Sorry about the misclick on the what is this even called? I don't even remember, but there you go. So what do we got going on? We had a Fisher mid lane, but unfortunately Resolution ending up on the wrong side of that one, so not going to be able to get a kill there. Top lane, Yoki pretty much completely so just going to be forced back by some Witch Doctor right clicks. In terms of any real lead, we don't really have one right now, as experience and net worth go, and 4-minute runes just about to pop up, so both teams moving into position for that at the moment. No contest from Goblak there, actually just gonna let Yoki get away with that one. And Aloha Dance actually grabbing an Invisor in this has not been spotted at all by Navi. If you take a look, they don't have any vision in the area, so we'll see what he can get done here. Goblak is actually just going to be wandering away from mid for the time being, so Dendi perhaps a little bit vulnerable. Resolution not quite yet level 6, but does have some very solid burst damage. And we've also got to go on top lane, but looks like Mag is going to make his way back to his towers, so Resolution's positioning is a bit aggressive for this, so Dendi may have a little bit of a read on the fact that there's a potential gank coming in, but there's no real reason for him to play up either, so it looks like Aloha Dance Invis just gonna fade and not gonna be able to get too much done with his time there. Let's check out some stacks. We've got one over here for Team Empire. Do we have anything else going on? Not really. Meanwhile, for DK Phobos, there's a little stack set up over here, and that is about that. So supports haven't really found the time to be spending time stacking and preparing for their cores, but both offlaners do definitely benefit a lot between the Axe and the Mag, so I think Axe definitely expected to race his way to the Blink Dagger a little bit earlier, and Empire just going to have to find some way to recover the Magnus a little bit later on. They do have Troll down in their safe lane, and he can look to head over into the jungle and just start hitting creeps, and they can pass the lane over to Yoki at that stage and start farming up his Arcanes and Blinks, so I think even if he's not doing all that well on CS on the offlane, he still should probably be just fine. And we've got 6-minute runes coming up, so Yoki is once again going to be making his way down here. Bottom rune is going to be a double damage, and once again Aloha Dance is going to be the recipient of that, though this time around he is spotted out by a Dire Observer Ward. We've actually got Goblak. Is that Goblak? Who got out here? Yeah, so Goblak coming out nice and early, setting up his second set of observers, just keeping his safe lane as safe as he possibly can, and they get a little bit of rune vision down here on the bottom side. But for the time being, still just a pretty farmy game. Slight CS lead in favor of Silent, but I think that's only really because Havost got forced back from the creep wave when that gank made its way up a little bit earlier, so that's probably the only real source of the discrepancy. Havost has picked up some power treads and a ring of regen, so it looks like he is still going to be trying for the mech build this game, it would seem. And yeah, Buckler and Headdress both flying at right this second. Always want to fly an Aloha Dance teaming up, trying to get the wraparound on the bottom tower as Silent is pushing things in with his Bassi activated, but Navi are going to send as many heroes as they can muster in to try and find some kills here. The first shrapnel rains down, and the Fisher's going to land on 2. Tusk trying to find something to roll over to, but DK Phobos already cutting off the retreat. The smoke gets wasted, and that is a straight up double kill for Dendi, making an easy rotation over from the mid lane. And those early wards from Goblak totally paying off. I think for Empire, they just didn't expect this ward to be anywhere close. As we saw, they had a smoke, they could have popped it, but just thought, oh, it's It's right around 7 minutes. Navi's first set of wards has probably faded. There's absolutely no reason for either of their supports to have come all the way down to this bottom rune. But still gonna find that kill, and looking for more. Silent gonna get called up here on bot. They've got the dunk already on Phobos, and they're gonna drop it down. Navi picking up a third easy kill in as many minutes, and that extra move speed gonna get them straight back to safety. So after a little bit of a slow start, they're gonna rocket out to about a 2k net worth lead and about a 1500 experience lead as well. Aloha Dance. We saw that one successful rotation out of the early game, but I don't think that's quite good enough for the Tusk. And he's going to try and make an attempt up here on top. They did manage to de-ward that lane ward that was planted down earlier, so they've opened up this top lane a little bit more to aggression. But as I say that, we're just going to watch Havost zap down Yoki, finds another easy kill, and Empire just totally falling apart at the moment. Resolution has picked up some arcane boots. He's got a pair of glove of haste right now, so looking like he might be considering a Midas for the time being. And I think Empire kind of settling back into farm positions. They are fairly difficult to break high ground against between the Magnus and the Zeus, and Troll does scale pretty nicely, but I don't know if they necessarily want to take this too late against the Navi lineup, though. It looks like for the time being they may not have too much of a choice. Havost actually going to have his mech up pretty soon, and the fight may be arriving from Navi earlier than Empire expected, and Goblock even going to be able to get the deny down on the bottom tower. Things going better and better for Navi as time goes on. That kill from DK Phobos also going to result in some nice gold for him. Does detour a little bit for a ring of health here, but still another 700 gold, 800 gold banked. And Empire actually looking for a kill, but Phobos just managing to clear out the camp and get out of there in time, so not going to be the unwitting recipient. They do have Thunder God's Wrath to be able to scout out where Navi are. Unfortunately, it's just Yol here top, but they're going to load up the snowball and just go straight in for it. Nothing too big invested there, and Empire may also be able to get some pressure down on this tier 1 tower at the same time.
Top tower is under attack.
What is the rest of Navi up to? We've got 10-minute runes coming up in just a second. Goblock going to set up a little ancient stack, so it looks like it might be a Vanguard for DK Phobos. Doesn't need it to clear these ancients, but well worth it if you can get away with the Vanguard and still have your blink at a decent clip. And again, based on how well the early game has been going, I think he can probably do just that. Silent has started to make his way over into the jungle so they can pass this bottom lane back over to somebody on Empire who needs the farm. I think Yoki is a pretty good candidate for that at the moment. As far as their two supports go, I think you probably prioritize Tusk a little bit higher than the Vengeful Spirit, but neither of them scale all that inspiringly with items, so we'll have to see. As well, for Vision, Empire have managed to make really deep inroads over into the Navi side of the map, but the question is whether or not they're actually going to be able to use these wards. Magnus is still definitely not ready to move and set up any kind of ganks, and that kind of means that it's down to the Zeus, the Venge, and the Tusk to get anything going. There's not another smoke picked up just yet, and so it looks like Empire just going to be focusing on their economy for a little bit here. Resolution going to clean up the stack and finish up his Midas. DK Phobos, same kind of story for him. He's finished up his Vanguard here, so actually, I was about to say ready to potentially clear out these ancients, but looks like Dendi with his Mask of Madness is actually beat him to the punch, and he's going to be grabbing that farm down there. Havost with mech in hand, I think, is calling for his team to start making a play down towards bottom, and looks like that call is going to be answered. Phobos making his way over. Yol, the only straggler at the moment, but looks like he's just potentially setting up for mid lane right now, as Empire do lag a little bit behind on this rotation. Resolution somewhat low on mana, so we'll see what he's going to do. 12-minute rune is coming up pretty soon, so probably just looking towards that. But Navi already laying into this tier 1 tower bot. The glyph has already been used, and Empire aren't even doing damage anywhere else on the map. Big rotation coming out from Resolution, and always want to fly all the way up towards the top lane. And I think just hoping to exploit Navi potentially splitting up as they maybe get greedy and attempt to defend both towers. But Glyph's already been used by Navi, and looks like this tier 1 is actually just going to fall without them putting up too much of a fight. So Empire do still end up getting something at the end of the day. Empire have been stacking Ancients, but they can't really clear this at the moment. especially with no points up and in power. If Navi take this tier 1 and then they find this ancient stack, that could be a total disaster for Empire, because Navi can clear it. No problems whatsoever with their axe. But Navi, with that mech still ready to go, are just going to keep the push continuing. Yoki considering coming in from behind here to drop a skewer into an RP. Aloha Dance still showing up on top, always on a fly. Moving through the fog, but it looks like Empire are just going to be making the call to sack this tower. Sounds still pretty squishy for the time being. Has some decent farming items between the Asha and the Morbid Mask, but can't really go charging into the middle of the Navi lineup, so... Navi do end up taking the better trade overall on the map as they get 2 tier 1s for only a single tier 1 up on the safe lane, and they're even looking for more, just going to head straight on over into the Roshan pit. This rotation was somewhat spotted by this Radiant Ward, but Empire still just kind of hitting creeps and doing their own thing for the time being. Of course, the one big timing that they are waiting around for is this Blink Dagger over on the Magnus, and Yoki's been pretty much uninterrupted in his farm up on top lane. So he's got Arcanes, he's got 1500 gold, and this Blink Dagger has to pay off big, I think, if you're Empire here, because you've let Navi get away with a lot in the meantime. They have actually managed to drag back the economy just through sheer farm, and they've actually brought the experience back into their own favor, and only about 1.5k gold, the discrepancy at the moment. So you can see the troll starting to sink his teeth in and getting that GPM going in the jungle. But Navi with the Aegis and a smoke, gonna start making their way out. Looks like they spotted Silent down here a little bit earlier, but he's actually just gonna be clearing out right now, as Empire will instead swoop in on the top lane and keep this pressured out as far as they possibly can. Tier 1 tower is potentially available for Navi up top, but it's a pretty big rotation to go for, especially since they have to start all the way back from this tier 2. So we'll see what they end up doing and how they end up prioritizing this Aegis time as we go on. Looks like Dendi maybe just going for a Maelstrom build here after the Mask of Madness. I talked about during the draft how really the big focus of Navi's draft is just make tons and tons of space for the sniper, make it really difficult for anybody in Empire to actually lock him down, and I think the build totally reflects that. He just needs to buy whatever items he can to dish out as much DPS as possible and leave the survivability to his teammates, which is exactly what he's doing for the time being. And looks like Havost is just focusing on ending this game as early as possible. Gonna head straight into the Aghanim Scepter as the next item. Only 1300 gold to go on that one. How are the support levels looking? Unfortunately, no level 6 just yet on the Vengeful Spirit. So pretty important positioning tool missing there. And Resolution, having completed the Hand of Midas, actually just picks up a straight up Ogre Club. So could be, we'll see what this is going to be the beginnings of. Yoki farming very aggressively up on top, drops very low, doesn't actually have enough mana to TP out after the skewer, so Havost is going to continue to give chase, and there's more Navi heroes inbound, can go black, find the Fissure, won't be able to. Thought that the mag may have juked over into the trees a little bit earlier, but does manage to escape. And is that the Blink Dagger for Yoki? It is, in fact, his blink completes. So all important initiation tool finally up for the Empire side, and pretty much the same story for Phobos, who's just about to grab his Blink Dagger over on the Dire. So it's now going to become a little bit of a positioning war. No real reason for Empire to fight into this Aegis, and they will gladly trade a tier 1 on their offlane for Navi's tier 1 in the mid. So looks like that is just going to be the play for now. Silent also getting some more pressure down on bot. He's got his SNY already completed. Starting to look a little bit tankier, a little bit more powerful as we move our way forward. And I think Empire actually getting, well, somewhat getting the better of this exchange. They've given up on the mid tower for the time being, instead focusing on this tier 1. They know that if they can push this all the way through the tier 1, all the way through the tier 2, sorry, and up to the base, they can potentially force Navi back and waste some extra time on the Aegis. So it looks like that's going to be the play for now. There's only 2 minutes left on the Aegis. Backing off at this stage probably means Navi accept the fact they're not going to be able to take a fight with that still active. We've got Go Black already TPing back, ready to cancel some TPs and potentially set up Navi to charge straight into the base themselves, but everyone in Empire are going to take the time to back off into the fog and then begin their TPs back. Some very aggressive TPs at the front here. Silent just going to go charging straight in with the phase boots. Splitting up a little bit from his team. Does get the slowdown onto Dendi, but again, he's still got that Aegis. Some good damage getting laid in as the snowball is going to start rolling its way across Phobos. Can he drop the call here? They've already burst down the Aegis, but they've got a bunch of heroes in return. The RP gets dropped down. Havost skewered back. Phobos dropping very low. It's a 3-for-1 so far. A completely uncancelled death ward off to the side. Salvaging the fight. Yol making the plays here. And looks like Yoki might not even be able to escape. Another urn charge ticking out. And that's going to be the death of him. Navi taking a 5-for-2 fight if you include the Aegis as a life for Dendi. And what a ridiculously aggressive play out of them. I think they did know that Go Black wasn't anywhere nearby, so it was a 5-on-5 to begin with, but that was some really bold play out of Empire. Especially since the way that they took that fight also made it pretty difficult for the Mag to get in and get anything done. Havost actually ends up surviving through with his mech and all of that farm, so he's pretty tanky and does actually have his Aghanim Scepter complete and over on the courier. That's also your Blink Dagger, it looks like, for the Earthshakers. So Go Black ready to get something done here. Ancients have unfortunately been blocked out by Empire, so he's not going to be able to stack that one up, but who actually needs the farm right now? We've almost got a Crimson Guard completed for Phobos. Dendi, meanwhile, has finished up his Maelstrom, and he's got another 1,800 gold, so he may just finish the Mjolnir straight away. It's actually such a good buff to throw in the axe this game that often you'll see people just go for a Maelstrom as a value farming item, but I think this game it's totally worth it just to finish the Mjolnir, throw it on the axe every single fight, and again play into that fact that they're just using him as raw DPS this game. Empire will finally make their way over to their ancient stack and clear that one out, so helping to close down the net worth and experience lead that Navi did open up after that last successful team fight. Roshan, potential respawn in, 2 minutes time, so we'll find out when exactly that is going to be. Resolution, meanwhile, actually just going straight in towards a BKB after this Hand of Midas, so a somewhat defensive build from your Zeus, honestly. I mean, it does help him not get locked down by the Earthshaker and means that he's somewhat able to move around in the fights, but the bulk of Navi's damage is magical. So I think this is a little bit of a strange choice from Resolution here. But he's got his Midas, and if the game drags on, should be able to start grabbing some bigger damage items as well. And Havost with his Ag Scepter complete is going to start working in towards what looks like a BKB of his own. Empire, I think they still haven't really gotten enough out of the Tusk and the Venge. They wanted to roam early, but they had one successful kill. Oh, they had 2 successful kills on the Witch Doctor, and outside of that, the only other thing really worth mentioning is the double death that they had down here on bottom lane. So I feel like this hasn't really worked out the way that Empire were hoping for. They do still have the potential big plays from Yoki on the Magnus, so that could definitely win them some team fights moving forward, but for the time being, it is looking tough, and Navi are just gearing up to go high ground as quickly as they possibly can. Looks like Dendi is going to be going for that Mjolnir straight up here, so that's going to be coming out pretty soon for him. Got a Blink Dagger for the Troll. So Empire's still trying to put together whatever methods they can to get on top of this sniper and burst him down in the fights. Though even if they're successful in doing that, there's still Havost to deal with. So we'll see what happens. And Empire Big Smoke, switching it over to their perspective. They can see a couple of heroes around the map. DK Phobos over on the mid lane as they loop their way down over into the river. And Go Black's still hiding this Blink Dagger, I think, for the time being, and just kind of baiting on the axe for now. Resolution is going to be teaming up with the rest of Empire as they rotate all the way down towards bottom lane. And we'll find out that Roshan's going to respawn in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Sound gets called immediately. There is a defensive swap out, and the RP comes in on top of 3. Yoki looking for the skewer, but he can't find it. The shrapnel slowing him down, and Havost doing the damage. They jump in with the Echo Slam. Go Black just going to try and finish off one And Yoki may actually be the only casualty this fight. Throws out one last shockwave, but that's all he's going to get. A little bit further down, Phobos chasing after Always Wanna Fly. Looks at the call. There's the stun, but the call cancels it. And there is going to be at least a second kill coming the way of Navi in this team fight. So, biggest problem for Empire. Troll got jumped. They swapped him out, but he was already at 50%. And at that point, just really unable to do anything with the rest of the fight. So RP's down, Echo Slam's down. Roshan's up soon-ish, though it looks like it may take Navi a little bit longer to realize that they can go and grab that one. But they're just so farmed. They're gonna keep advancing this lead. They're gonna have a BKB on the Razor soon, so he can just run in absolutely no problem. Dendi with another 1k gold after his Mjolnir, so his damage is just escalating and escalating and escalating. Hello, Dance and Silent may have found him, however, they're gonna jump in with that Blink Dagger, slowing him down with the axes, and the snowball rolls in from the side. Nice, easy pickup there for them. And that is gonna slow down Navi somewhat. Courier just waiting and gonna scout at Roshan soon, but it looks like we are gonna have a pause in the meantime. So what's coming out for resolution? Okay, so it looks like it's gonna be probably Aghanim Scepter out for him with this point booster. I still don't know exactly what this BKB is doing for him, if I'm being honest. I mean, yes, he's worth focusing if you're Navi because he represents a lot of damage with a really small HP pool, but at the same time, I feel like even if you get jumped and you pop the BKB, you're still probably dead anyway. So I'm not so sure, but resolution probably more than likely going to get some value out of it, and it does mean that he can position more aggressively. So I don't want to sound too down on the item here. His impact for the next couple of minutes is going to be somewhat questionable, though, as double BKB appears to be coming up pretty quickly. Phobos might be going for a Heaven's Halberd instead, but I feel like BKB is a pretty solid grab for him this game. And for Empire, how does the next couple of minutes need to play out? So ideally, they need to, if they can figure out that Roshan is up while Dendi is down, they might be able to force something, but I think if you're in Empire's shoes, they're just kind of focusing on split pushing, farming up the Dire jungle as much as they possibly can. And that's about it. Oh, actually grouping up. Looks like tier 1 tower mid is going to be next on the agenda. They got 4 heroes here. Always want to fly a little bit further down, but Empire do start moving in here over towards mid. They've got an RP up in 9 seconds time. Dire Glyph still available, so gonna pop that freebie there to buy a little bit more time for the sniper to pop back up. 10 seconds for him. I think Navi have already scouted out Roshan as well, so probably just waiting for that. They do also have a smoke over on Go Black, so the play could end up being either just a direct smoke into Rosh or a smoke into a pick-off, then go and grab Rosh directly afterwards. Dendi is going to be TPing in to join his team over on mid. Empire still somewhat split up with the Zeus over on top lane. And Go Black wandering around under the cover of this Invisor and going to spot out Yoki. This could be really big for Navi. They've also got Phobos charging in, ready to try and get something done, but looks like Navi actually just going to head straight on over into the pit. As Radiant Vision goes, they do seem to have somewhat of an idea that this is going on, but no real movement over to stop it for the time being, and Roshan already dropping pretty low. So looks like Empire just going to sack it for now and hope to mount a defense at the tier 3s, I suppose. I agree that they can't take a team fight, but it's just a question of under what circumstances do Empire win this game. You can see that when things start to go back to farming, they are winning the economy war somewhat there, but I don't know if that's necessarily enough. Silent is going to clean up another tower up on top. They've got some pressure on this tier 3, and he wants to see some heroes coming back. They do have Aloha Dance and Yoki ready to bail him out if things go sour. Blink Dagger also at the ready, so they get the TP out of Avost, and it looks like for Empire they're just going to try and stall out as much as they can. Resolution looks like it is going to be your Aghanim Scepter coming up next for him. No big surprises there. And unfortunately, the 2 Empire supports, not a whole lot of gold to work with for the time being. Aloha Dance does actually have 1800, but I think it might just be Blink Dagger is the next grab for him.
Dire's middle
So
tower is under attack.
we'll see if he can pick that one up. But it's pretty nice. Can use it as a team-wide phase shift, potentially. It's another way to get in on top of the sniper. That looks like it may be delayed somewhat as the shrapnel comes in bottom lane. Dendy's hunting for kills. And Go Black also coming in for the assist. Jumps in with his shiny Blink Dagger. I think that's pretty much the first time that he's shown that off this game. Silent still being as much of a pest as he can. Gonna remind Havos that he's still up here, still threatening this tier 3. But how much longer is left in this Aegis? I think it's still an eternity yet. 3.5 minutes. So Navi should definitely be able to get some value out of it. Looks like next item up for Dendi is just going to be a BKB. So triple BKB coming out for Navi before too long, and I think that should definitely be the call to go and potentially end the game. They've also got this Aghanim Scepter over on Yul. He's not the highest level, still a little ways away from level 16, but this is huge. I mean, talked about it a little bit earlier. Silent actually getting forced away here. Fisher not really on the right side here. Silent just going to try and look for the blink out if he can get it. Does manage to get away from the Assassinate flying in, but Havos is still going to continue to pursue. For that troll move speed, looks like it is going to be enough to get him away. But yeah, I think that the triple BKB is probably just the timing for Navi to say, screw it, let's just go force this game. They have to try and get top lane as far out as they possibly can. Vision, a little bit lacking for them, just bits and pieces here around the pip, but they do have a couple of smokes to work with, I believe. RP gonna get dropped top. They're looking for DK Phobos, Silent jumping in as well with the blink. And they do clean up the axe. That's going to be a minute worth of time that Empire have bought for themselves. And this team of Empire and this team of Silent and Yoki working together out of the Dire jungle have got a lot done. Silent actually claiming the #1 spot on net worth in as many minutes. Oh, #1 spot on net worth this game. So getting some really good farm out there. Aloha Dance also gets the opportunity to finish up his blink. So Empire are definitely getting somewhere as items go. Also, Resolution with his Aghanim Scepter complete. And his level 16, so pretty big damage upgrade there for the Zeus. So long as he's not fighting into these triple BKBs, which are, I think, almost up. Phobos was getting close, but did end up dying, and that's going to slow him down just a little bit further. But if you're Empire, this is about the best you can hope for, and Silent actually just blinking super aggressively right into Navi territory. They didn't have any vision there. Aloha Dance, meanwhile, does get cast up on top. Yul gonna start dragging him back, but he's already blinked himself away, so there's your escape for the Tuscan. The Empire split push is working out beautifully right now. 30 seconds until they have another RP. They've almost completely wasted this Aegis, only another minute to go. And Navi's still just struggling to keep this top lane out. DK Phobos once again gonna get caught and bashed and just right-click to death. No assistance required from anybody else on the team. And with Phobos down, is that actually gonna be the call for Empire to go and make something happen? Resolution pushing up bottom lane. And as much as I thought this was looking good for Navi, it looks like that's not going to be the case. Dendi even going to lose the Aegis here as Silent jumps in on the mid lane and just right-clicks him down. And looks like they are going to try and jump in with a skewer. Yoki mistiming it just a little bit. Could have been huge if he'd grabbed that skewer back on the sniper, but it was not to be this time around. And Navi, however, still chasing out. Go Black running through, looks for Yoki. They've got an Assassinate coming in. They get the swap out, but it's not going to keep him alive. In comes the Walrus Punch. They drop down the Earthshaker, but Silent is wreaking havoc in the backlines. He's already brought down Dendi, and he's looking for more Yul. Just playing Ring Around the Rosie here with the trees, but won't be able to get out of here. And then with the BKB pop, there's your double kill. It's only Havost and Silent duking it out right now, as Resolution is actually just over farming up the jungle, but this troll is putting his team on his back and pretty much winning the game single-handedly. He's 6-2-0, late on net worth, right-clicking down pretty much anybody that tries to step up to him, and you can even just see it from the way he's moving around the map right now. Silent just does not care at all, and to boot, he's almost got a Scotty picked up, so this is actually all of a sudden looking really, really bad for Navi. They've got some deep wards from the Radiant over on their side of the map, so there's some more potential pickoffs there. Their vision still a little bit lacking and just no idea whatsoever what this Troll Warlord is up to. It is somewhat difficult for Navi to move out of their side of the map, because if they go for a big smoke, then Empire will just pop the Thunder God's Wrath and scout it out. So if they're gonna push, they kind of have to do it the old-fashioned way, unfortunately. But so they're just gonna go for that. So they have that third BKB in hand. DK Phobos, not quite with the BKB complete, but he does have level 16 up and ready to go. So a slightly empowered chop is his to command. And Empire just going to keep up the split push game for the time being, it seems. We've got potential Roshan respawn in about a minute and a half. Navi all just drifting up towards top lane. There's no tier 2 here. So either they're going for an all-in, or they're just getting this lane out as far as they possibly can. Havost is going to be showing for the time being, but looks like Empire might consider jumping in here anyway. Silent with his Alpha Wolf in tow. They've got the pings out onto the side. Can they get the call? No, he blinks past. He's looking for this Earthshaker, focuses him down into auto attacks. DK Phobos is going to be next. Yol completely unable to channel the ultimate as Phobos is just getting trained. Dendi going to try and fight this one, but it's only going to take 4 hits for the troll to drop him down. And Yoki's managed to skewer back Havost, setting him up for another blink in and a few more auto attacks. There comes your ultra kill. Godlike streak for Silent. And Navi end up taking a disastrous 5-for-1 fight. Nobody can stop this Troll Warlord. And that may actually just be the game if they can't manage to kill Silent. Even your Axe, who you would consider to be a tanky hero in general, just dying instantly. And Troll with all of these stats, plus the buff from Empower, is tearing through heroes absolutely no problem. Havost's gonna buy back and just walk forward, but the rest of his team not really here to back him up just yet. Empire a little bit low on Yoki and Helloa Dance. It looks like they are just gonna call a retreat, and Silent is gonna carve out a path towards the mid lane to keep on farming. Meanwhile, Resolution, since he's just been chilling with his Midas, has almost managed to finish up his Refresher Orb. And how are those BKBs on Navi looking? 8 seconds remaining on the Razor. We got 9 seconds on the Sniper, and still no BKB just yet for Phobos, unfortunately. The Troll with Empower has just farmed so ridiculously fast that he's opened up a 7k net worth lead in front of the lead Navi farmer. In fairness, he does have a bunch of kills to his name as well, so that's a big source of farm for him, but Silent has just gone absolutely ham, and now he's going to find out Go Black. They've got the ultimate coming in as well. Havost locked down, pops the BKB, but still sent skyward by the Walrus Punch, and a few more hits from the Troll, despite losing damage, are still going to finish him off. All of that without Empower, and Troll also lacking 196 from the static link there. But 2 more down from Navi. They got no vision to work with, really. Empire's still just parading around and grabbing additional farm, and Roshan's actually going to pop up in just a second. Havost used his buyback, so they know that he can definitely not attend this fight, and that probably means we've got an Aegis Troll to contest with soon as well. Does he even have room? No. He can't really make space for it. I think he's just going to grab his Satanic, and then they probably give the Aegis to the Zeus, I would guess. We'll see what happens. Gonna shred this Roshan in 10 seconds flat. Looks like the Aegis is actually going to be taken by the Troll. What did he get rid of? Somebody's got to be carrying something of his. Okay, so it looks like just going to be holding off on the Satanic for now. Yeah, Helm the Dominator over on the Courier, so probably going to get that one picked up, put the Courier out into position. But if you thought Silent could go ham already, well, you haven't seen the half of it now that he's got this Aegis picked up. So here we go. I mean, Navi, they gotta get the 5-man slam jam. I think that's pretty much the only way to win this fight. They do have that BKB up for Phobos, but Troll just does not care at all if you've got that BKB ready. Resolution, meanwhile, still just off in his own jungle. I think this is the only thing that he's been doing for like the last 10 minutes or last 20 minutes or so. Just being farming his own jungle, throwing out Thunder God's Wrath when he's required. His score is 0-1-11. So he died once this game and then just completely pieced out with his Midas. And it's worked. Oh, and not a double damage. Come on, Empire, have a little bit of mercy. Is San actually gonna go and grab it? I mean, that would just be ridiculous. Does anyone have a bottle still? I doubt it. Well, looks like they're just gonna leave it for the time being. Sonic gonna get a little bit of lifesteal going off this Vlad's. Navi are completely bottled up in their base, and Empire just waiting around for this refresher orb. I feel like I should apologize for what a bad read I had on this game. Just did not give Silent enough credit. RP gets dropped down onto Havos. They know that he used his buyback earlier. Probably not available just yet. There's going to be a jump in. Silent already wreaking havoc among the back lines. He's brought down 3. He's looking for 4. Here comes your Ultra. No, does get swiped away by Aloha Dance. But they may still give it to him here with Phobos. Go Black already going to call the GG before a single tier 3 falls. And the Troll Warlord is going to lead his team to victory as they charge straight up the middle lane. I think for Empire, that was 100% Silent MVP. They shifted gears really nicely into just farming the Dire jungle and finding pickoffs. And Navi just never really got that early game going. They had their Blink, they had their Crimson Guard, they had their mech, they had the Ags, but Empire not once giving them the opportunity to fight. Even with the Vengeful Spirit and the Tusk, I mean, not really getting that much out of the early game. The Empire late game plan of just having Magnus and Troll go to work pays off beautifully. So that's going to wrap it up for Game 1, guys. We're going to jump ourselves over into Game 2. Should hopefully be coming out pretty quickly once we get ourselves into that. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm Basskip. Sorry if it's a little bit rusty, guys. Haven't done a solo cast in a little while, but I hope you enjoyed it all the same. If you want to leave any feedback, feel free to jump over onto Twitter or pop a message in chat. I've been having a great time, so I hope you guys have as well, and I'll see you soon for Empire vs. Navi Game 2 coming up next.